Coming to you live from Florida's Space Coast, it's About Space Today. And here's your host about space, David Denault.
Good afternoon and welcome to About Space Today's coverage of SpaceX Crew 9 launch. It's just after 1 p.m. here at the Kennedy Space Center. Launch temperature about 87 degrees and under cloudy skies. Space Force range safety says that we are go for launch at this time. Now, but today the astronauts will be on, only 2 astronauts to launch aboard that will be traveling to the International Space Station. I'm David Denault. NASA will attempt its 9th manned mission, but only 2 crew members will be on the Falcon 9 rocket. Now, veteran astronaut Nick Hague, along with Roscosmos astronaut Alexander Gorbanov, will be on the rocket headed to space. Now, only one astronaut, American astronaut, had ever aborted a launch, and that was Commander Nick Hague, and he was on a Soyuz spacecraft.
A launch abort is a pretty bad day. When we aborted, at the moment that we aborted, we were about 32 miles above the Earth and we were going 4,000 miles an hour. And a couple pieces of the rocket ran into each other and caused the rocket to kind of come apart underneath us, disintegrate. And at the moment that the computers on board sensed that we weren't traveling as fast as we should be and we weren't pointed in quite the right direction, the abort system, the escape tower, pulled us off of the rocket and pulled us clear of all of that debris and then started us on our way back down. And so those are safety systems. Those are examples of systems that we put into place to protect us on the days when we don't do it right. You know, something had happened, some mistake had been made, and it prevented us from achieving the mission we wanted to that day. But the first priority is protecting the crew. And you'll see that on all of our vehicles, whether it's SLS or it's SpaceX or it's Boeing, when we're launching crew, we have these safety systems in place to make sure that those crews come home to us.
This is About Space Today's live coverage of Crew 9 going to the International Space Station. Our coverage will continue next as America and the world is listening and watching About Space Today. Hey, it's the good old summertime. And time to think about a Florida beach vacation. Well, D&D Cruise and Tours is the official travel agent for About Space Today, and we want to invite you to come and see the Space Coast this summer. Our hotels are just steps away to our beautiful sun-bleached beaches and the azure waters of the Atlantic Ocean. And we're just minutes from the cruise port, with many hotels offering free or reduced parking. And maybe you'll want to come and see and visit the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. And maybe just relax to the sound of the waves crashing along our shorelines. Call D&D Cruise and Tours at 877-747-8631 and come and see the Space Coast.
I'm so excited to take on the most sweetest job at sea. Chief Culinary Officer for America's favorite cruise line. I'm really looking forward to helping bring new, exciting, and unique flavors to the Carnival Cruise experience. This is not only going to be delicious, but it's also going to be a lot of fun. Emeril Lagasse, Carnival's new Chief Culinary Officer. It does have a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Like, bam!
Hi.
Welcome back. I'm David Denault, and this is coverage of the launch of Crew 9 to the International Space Station. Now, one of the questions that has come up during the news conference was Nick Hague and his relationship to Space Force.
You talked about the U.S. Space Force. Tell me the advantage you have going to the space station to expand the U.S. Space Force presence. And you're a Guardian. How does this all play together for you?
Yeah, so inside of the astronaut corps, we have several active duty military members that are assigned to work for NASA, and that's we've got a long history of that level of cooperation, and so it's great to be able to serve not only in the Space Force but also serve my nation as part of the astronaut corps. Expanding what I think the biggest impact of me being on this mission as a Guardian is going to be is just raising awareness. There are a lot of things that the Space Force does that are instrumental to making human spaceflight possible, whether that's providing us support to launch and land or keeping us safe by moving us out of the way or warning us of
2, 1, go.
Welcome back to our coverage of SpaceX Crew launch to the International Space Station today. Now, a lot of, I guess, discussions are always around crew patches. And I think the question from the media and during their pre-launch conference had to do with that question of how strange patches can be designed.
Looking at the patches that are representing your mission, the Crew 9 patch is colorful and full of symbolism, and then you look at the Expedition 72 patch, and it's almost the most straightforward patch since Expedition 1. Did your crew lead the design of both patches, and how did those two come about?
The Crew 9 patch, of course, was designed with inputs from Crew 9. This one was designed by Blake Dumesnil, who has done a lot of patches for NASA and crewed flights in the past. There's a lot of symbolism in every patch. So for the Crew 9 patch, we of course have Falcon. This is some synergy between Crew 9 and the Falcon 9 rocket on which we will launch. Our destination is the International Space Station. The constellation in the background is Draco, as a nod to our Dragon spacecraft and the engines that will take us there. The colors are also symbolic. The red, yellow, white, and black is actually a nod to the maritime signaling flag for the number 9, fun fact. And the purple was serendipitous, but we happen to have embraced it deeply. The Expedition 72 patch was actually led by Don Pettit, who is already in Star City on his way to the International Space Station in September. And it really is a nod to the long-standing history of the space station, which has been human-occupied for more than 20 years now. But you'll notice, of course, the space station looks quite a bit different than it did in Expedition 1, and I'm very grateful to be flying with people who actually helped in its construction.
And welcome back. We are now in just the final minutes of our countdown for the Crew 9 launch. As we mentioned, there are 2 astronauts on board rather than a full complement of 4. Now, the capsule itself will actually be able to handle a total crew of 7 astronauts. And I'm sure that the 2 astronaut seats that are vacant will be very much appreciated on the return in February with Butch and Sonny Williams, who are up at the space station waiting for Crew 9 to arrive, and then they will complete their 6-month mission, and plus the 2 months for Butch and Sonny there for 8 months. It's an interesting stay. Now, this is the first time that the SpaceX manned crew will be launching from this particular, not the launch pad, but the new gantry that they have built. Much different than the one on Launch Complex 39A. The astronauts this morning took the ride up there, looked around, and got in an elevator and all the way up to the top of the gantry at this point. So I will just tell you that I'm sure they were happy, but on Launch Complex 39A, in those spacesuits, they had to climb a couple of flight of stairs to do that. So I'm sure that is appreciated as well. We have to launch at exactly 1:17 and 21 seconds. It is imperative. If we don't hit that mark, we will scrub for the day, and we will reschedule for tomorrow. And tomorrow's launch is scheduled for about 12:54 p.m. So I will tell you that as of now, we are go for launch, and we are coming up in about a minute or so from launch itself. We will join Mission Control shortly. This is About Space Today's coverage, and we hope that you are enjoying our coverage. And don't just remember to like and subscribe to our channel as well. We do two different About Space Today podcasts, and we hope that you'll join us on Tuesdays and on Fridays, and my special reports twice a month. We are now ready to go to Mission Control shortly, and again, weather is clear. The Dragon now in the final countdown, and the flight computer will now switch to automatic control. Let's go to Mission Control.
Do not talk, your mic is active.
perform 3 burns on its way back to Earth. The first is the boost back burn, followed shortly thereafter by the entry burn. The entry burn is used by Falcon 9 to slow the vehicle down before it reaches the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
We're going to get a great view here of the first stage coming back in, and we can see on the left-hand side of the screen as it re-enters the Earth with precision at this point, coming back to the Kennedy Space Center. We're going to hear a big boom shortly. We'll go back to coverage of, back to mission control at this point as we watch the launch, which was absolutely spectacular, as well as the astronauts now in space going toward the International Space Station. Here comes our rocket.
Boom.
So a great touchdown of stage 1 there just a second ago. We are continuing to hear good calls
3,
about Dragon's performance.
2, 1. Please don't use the mouse. Go.
Well, the astronauts are on their way to the International Space Station. Crew 9 will be greeted, I'm sure, with the ISS astronauts of the previous mission. They will be greeted by Butch probably and Sonny Williams. They reached the orbital complex back on June 6th on a Boeing Starliner. It was the first crewed test mission. The docking did not go as planned, and Butch and Sonny will return on the Crew 9 Dragon in next February. Our coverage of the launch and continuing coverage of the spacecraft to orbit next, as America and the world is watching and listening to About Space Today.
Everyone in my family went on a Carnival cruise. Maggie didn't come though, because she's a dog. Mom did things I've never seen her do. Dad was himself, and I met this girl who was pretty cool, I guess. My best friend! Then I saw a bird. Hi.
Cool bird.
And Dad told us to put on sunscreen, and we had the best time together. Please don't tell my parents I said that.
Are you ready to fly away on a dream vacation? For cruises and all-inclusive resort vacations, call D&D Cruise and Tours at 877-747-8631. That's 877-747-8631. And see us on Facebook, D&D Cruise and Tours, where your dreams become a reality.
When was the last time you did something for the first time? Discovered water that was 20 shades of blue. Where a butler served you cocktails on a beach. Ever dined in Paris one night and in India the next? Or the last time you felt like this? Sandals Resorts. With everything included, there's a first time for everything.
Welcome back to our coverage. The astronauts are on their way now to the International Space Station, and we will conclude our coverage here. We invite you to listen, by the way, twice weekly to our About Space Today broadcast, every Tuesday with John Gomez. It's really the top of the line news every week. And then each Friday is with Don Meyer, America in Space. Again, topics related to the space industry. And join me twice a month for my special reports. I'm David Denault, and this has been our coverage of the Crew 9 launch to the International Space Station.
This has been a special report from About Space Today.